Listen to me with your whole heart, because this moment is not ordinary. This is not background noise for your day. This is not something you play while scrolling and forgetting. This is a turning point. This is a divine interruption. This is a wake-up call to your spirit. If you are listening casually, you are already losing. If you are half present, you are missing what God is releasing right now. I am speaking to the part of you that is tired of struggle, tired of lack, tired of hoping and being disappointed. I am speaking to the part of you that knows deep inside that you were not created to live beneath your calling. And I am telling you right now, do not jump away from this moment, because the moment you jump, you lose. There are people listening who have checked their bank account more times than they have checked their faith. You check numbers on the screen and your mood rises or falls with those numbers. You wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is open an app. And that app tells you how valuable you think you are for the day. If the numbers are low, your confidence is low. If the numbers are high, your peace is temporary. But I have come to tell you that God did not design your life to be dictated by a screen. God did not shape your destiny to be limited by a balance. God did not breathe purpose into you so you can live in fear of figures. There is something greater than numbers, and that something is vision. Vision is the currency of heaven. Vision is the language God understands. And this, when God created the universe, He did not start with resources. He started with intention. He did not ask how much was available. He declared what would be. And the same God who spoke worlds into existence is the God who placed dreams inside you. But here is the tragedy. Many people are praying for provision while neglecting vision. You are asking God to bless what you have while God is waiting for you to see what He has already shown you. You see, lack is not first a financial condition, it is a spiritual condition. Poverty does not begin in the wallet, it begins in the mind. Before money disappears from your account, expectation disappears from your heart. Before opportunity leaves your life, faith leaves your thoughts. That is why some people receive money and lose it quickly. While others receive a little and multiply it. The difference is not intelligence, education, or background. The difference is inner alignment with God's principles. God is not moved by desperation. God is moved by faith. Faith is not wishing. Faith is not hoping something might happen. Faith is a spiritual force that aligns your inner world with God's purpose. When faith is activated, your actions change, your decisions change, your words change, and eventually your circumstances must respond. But if you are waiting for circumstances to change before your faith changes, you will wait forever. There are people listening who have been praying for a financial breakthrough, but you still speak like someone who expects loss. You still think like someone who anticipates failure. You still plan L. Like someone who is preparing for disappointment. You say you trust God, but your inner dialogue contradicts your prayers. And God is saying, check your alignment, check your agreement. Because heaven does not respond to words alone. Heaven responds to belief. Let me tell you something that may shake you, but it will free you. God is not holding your blessing hostage. God is not testing you by wit, holding good from you. God is not watching you struggle and calling it character development. The blockage is not in heaven. The blockage is in how you see, how you hear, and how you respond. When your inner vision is small, your outer results will be small. When your inner vision expands, your outer world must eventually follow. Some of you have been faithful in prayer, but careless in thinking. You pray for abundance, but meditate on fear. You ask God for increase, but rehearse worst-case scenarios in your mind. You say you believe, but your imagination is filled with failure. And imagination is powerful. Imagination is the womb of reality. What you consistently imagine, you eventually give birth to. God gave you imagination not to torture yourself with fear, but to partner with Him in creation. Do you know why some people seem to attract opportunity while others repel it? It is not luck. It is not favoritism. It is resonance. You attract what you are in harmony with. When your inner world resonates with faith, discipline, expectation, and obedience, doors open that others do not even see. When your inner world resonates with fear, doubt, and scarcity, even open doors feel threatening. I am speaking to someone who has been standing at the edge of a breakthrough but keeps stepping back because it feels unfamiliar. You are more comfortable with struggle than with increase. You are more familiar with survival than with abundance. And God is saying, I did not bring you this far to keep you small. I did not teach your hands to work and your mind to think just so you could remain stuck. There's a higher way of living, but it requires courage to let go of old patterns. When I say check your bank account 10 minutes after listening, I am not talking about a magical transfer appearing out of nowhere. I am talking about something far more powerful. I am talking about a shift. I am talking about awareness. I am talking about seeing your financial life through a different lens. If you listen with faith, you will not look at numbers the same way again. You will not react the same way again. You will not make the same decisions again. And that change, that inner transformation, is what leads to lasting results. God is a God of order. God honors discipline. God responds to obedience. Faith is not reckless. Faith is intentional. Faith listens, learns, and applies. Some people want miracles, but they ignore principles. But God works through principles. When you align with divine order, you step into divine provision. There are people who sow carelessly and expect a harvest. There are people who waste time and expect progress. There are people who avoid responsibility and expect promotion. But faith does not remove responsibility. Faith empowers responsibility. And you trust God. You become more diligent, not less. When you believe God is your source, you steward what you have with excellence. Look at your habits. Look at how you handle what is already in your hands. Look at how you treat opportunities, relationships, and resources. God multiplies what is honored. God increases what is respected. If you dishonor small beginnings, you disqualify yourself from greater ones. But when you treat what you have with gratitude and care, you signal to heaven that you are ready for more. Some of you have been asking God to change your situation, but God is asking you to change your perspective. You see problems, God sees potential. You see obstacles, God sees training. You see delays, God sees preparation. What if the season you are in is not punishment? Positioning? What if the pressure you feel is not to crush you, but to shape you? Pressure reveals what is inside. When pressure comes, faith either rises or fear takes control. And many people do not fail because of lack of opportunity. They fail because they collapse under pressure. But you were not created to collapse. You were created to stand. You were created to overcome. God did not design you to be fragile. He designed you to be resilient. I want you to understand something deeply. God is not impressed by how much money you want. God is moved by how much responsibility you are willing to carry. Increase follows capacity. If your capacity is small, increase will overwhelm you. But if your capacity grows, increase becomes manageable. Capacity is built through discipline, learning, humility, and consistency. There are people listening who want sudden wealth but avoid gradual growth. But gradual growth builds strength. Gradual growth builds wisdom. Gradual growth builds character. And when sudden opportunity comes, those who have grown gradually are ready to sustain it. God is not cruel. God is careful. God prepares you for what He plans to give you. You must stop comparing your journey to others. Comparison poisons gratitude and distorts vision. What God is doing in someone else's life is not a measurement of your worth or your future. God works uniquely with each person. Your assignment is not to compete. Your assignment is to obey. When you obey, you activate grace. And grace is the ability of God working through you. Some of you have been waiting for motivati, but discipline must come before motivation. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence fuels faith, and faith opens doors. Stop waiting to feel ready. Readiness is a result of movement, not a prerequisite. God honors steps taken in faith, even when they are small. A small step taken consistently is more powerful than a giant leap taken once. Many people start strong and fade quickly. But those who move steadily, who show up daily, who remain faithful in ordinary moments, they are the ones who experience extraordinary outcomes. Let me speak to your fear for a moment. Fear tells you to protect what little you have. Faith tells you to steward it wisely and trust God for increase. Fear makes you hoard. Faith makes you invest. Fear keeps you stuck. Faith moves you forward. Fear narrows your vision. Faith expands it. If you let fear dictate your decisions, you will always choose safety over purpose. But purpose requires risk. Not reckless risk, but calculated obedience. There is a difference between gambling and faith. Gambling hopes for luck. Faith trusts God and follows wisdom. You must learn to listen, not just to voices around you, but to the quiet convey inside you. God often speaks softly, but His direction is clear. When you ignore that inner prompting repeatedly, it becomes harder to hear. Sensitivity is built through obedience. Some of you know exactly what you need to change, but you keep postponing it. You know which habits are draining you. You know which relationships are distracting you. You know which excuses you keep repeating. God is saying, how long will you delay what you already understand? Time is not neutral. Time either works for you or against you. Every day you live intentionally, time becomes your ally. Every day you live passively, time becomes your enemy. God has given you time as a resource. How you use it determines what you produce. You cannot separate your spiritual life from your practical life. Faith is not confined to prayer moments. Faith is expressed in daily choices. How you manage money, how you manage time, how you manage energy, all of these reflect what you truly believe. Some people say they trust God, but they refuse to plan. Planning is not a lack of faith. Planning is a form of stewardship. God plans, God orders, God establishes. When you plan with humility and flexibility, you create space for God to guide you. Let me challenge you gently but firmly. Stop speaking negatively about your future. Words carry power. Words shape thought. Thought shapes behavior. Behavior shapes destiny. If you constantly speak defeat, you train your mind to expect defeat. But when you speak with faith, even when circumstances are difficult, you align yourself with possibility. This is not about pretending everything is perfect. This is about refusing to let difficulty define your identity. You can acknowledge challenges without surrendering to them. You can face reality without losing faith. God specializes in transformation, not just transforming circumstances, but transforming people. When you change, your world changes. When your inner world shifts, your outer world follows. All of you have been praying for God to remove obstacles, but God wants to strengthen you to overcome them. Strength developed through struggle lasts longer than comfort received without effort. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. You are in process. And process is not punishment. Process is preparation. If you are still listening, it means something inside you. Resonating. It means your spirit is awake. It means you are ready to take responsibility for your life in a new way. Do not jump away from this moment. Sit with it. Let it challenge you. Let it correct you. Let it inspire you. Because transformation does not come from information alone. It comes from application. When you check your bank account after this, check your mindset first. Check your habits. Check your discipline. Check your obedience. because real wealth begins inside. And when the inside is aligned, the outside cannot remain the same forever. God is faithful. God is just. God is attentive. And God responds to those who seek Him with sincerity and action. Stay present, stay humble, stay disciplined, stay faithful, because what you do after this moment will determine whether this was just another speech or the beginning of a new chapter in your life. There is a law operating in your life right now, whether you recognize it or not. It is the law of agreement. Whatever you consistently agree with in your inner world eventually gains permission to manifest in your outer world. God honors agreement. When your thoughts, words, and actions agree with fear, limitation follows. When they agree with faith, order, and purpose, provision follows. Many people unknowingly sabotage themselves because they speak one thing in prayer and agree with the opposite in daily life. They ask God for elevation but agree with doubt. They ask God for increase but agree with scarcity. Heaven listens carefully to agreement, not emotional noise. You must understand that God is not random. Go. D is intentional. God is precise. God does not pour increase into confusion. God does not bless disorder and call it favor. When your inner life is chaotic, your results will reflect that chaos. But when you bring your inner life into alignment, your thinking, your speaking, your discipline, you create a structure God can feel. Order invites overflow. Structure attracts supply. This is why some people work endlessly and remain empty, while others move with clarity and experience steady growth. Let me take you deeper. Faith is not a feeling. It is a posture. It is how you stand when everything around you is unstable. It is how you decide when options are limited. Faith is the refusal to let current conditions override divine truth. And divine truth is this: God is your source, not systems end. OT employers, not markets, not numbers. Those are channels, not origins. When a channel dries up, the source remains unchanged. But if you confuse the channel with the source, fear will dominate your decisions. Some of you panic every time the channel shakes. A delayed payment, a missed opportunity, an unexpected expense, and your peace collapses. But God is saying, why are you reacting as if I have disappeared? Why are you acting as if one closed door defines your future? I am not limited to one path, one person, or one season. When you trust God as source, you stop begging channels and start stewarding assignments. Assignment is critical. You were not placed on this earth accidentally. Your skills are not random. Your experiences are not wasted. God weaves purpose through everything way. You surrender it to Him. But purpose requires focus. When you scatter your energy chasing every opportunity out of fear, you dilute your effectiveness. But when you commit your energy to what aligns with your calling, momentum builds. Many people are busy but not productive. They confuse motion with progress. They exhaust themselves without advancement. God is not calling you to be everywhere. God is calling you to be aligned. Alignment brings efficiency. Efficiency brings clarity. Clarity brings peace. Sharpens discernment. Discernment is essential in this season. Not every opportunity is a blessing. Not every open door is God's direction. Some doors open to distract you from your assignment. You must learn to say no without guilt and yes without fear. When God leads, there is conviction, not confusion. When God guides, there is firmness, not panic. Let me speak to those who feel delayed. Delay is not denial. Delay is often refinement. God refines motives before He releases influence. God refines character before He releases capacity. If God gave some people what they want now, it would destroy them later. So He teaches patience, consistency, and humility. These are not punishments, they are protections. You see, pride repels grace, entitlement blocks growth, but humility creates room for learning. When you remain teachable, God can entrust you with more. When you think you already know enough, progress stalls. Wisdom grows in those who listen more than they speak and observe more than they react. I want you to reconsider how you respond to correction. Core. Action is not rejection. Correction is guidance. God corrects those He intends to elevate. If you resist correction, you resist growth. But if you receive correction with gratitude, you accelerate development. There are people listening who have blamed circumstances for years, but God is calling you to take ownership. Ownership is empowering. Blame keeps you small. Ownership restores authority. When you accept responsibility for your choices, you reclaim control over your direction. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond. Response determines trajectory. Two people can face the same situation and end up in completely different places. One responds with faith, discipline, and resilience. The other responds with fear, bitterness, and avoidance. The difference is not the situation, it is the response. God strengthens those who remain faithful under pressure. Faithfulness is not loud. Faithfulness is consistent. It is showing up when no one is watching. It is doing what is right when it feels unrewarded. It is maintaining integrity when shortcuts are available. And integrity always pays, even when the reward is delayed. Let me tell you something important. Shortcuts create long-term problems. What you bypass today, you will confront later with greater cost. God's way may seem slower, but it is secure. God builds foundations before He builds towers. And what God builds lasts. Some of you are in a rebuilding season. Something collapsed, something failed, something ended, and you feel embarrassed, discouraged, or ashamed. But God is saying, rebuild with wisdom, rebuild with patience, rebuild with truth. This time, do not rush. This time, do not ignore warning signs. This time, build on understanding, not emotion. Failure is not final unless you refuse to learn from it. God redeems lessons. When you extract wisdom from pain, pain loses its power. But when you avoid reflection, pain repeats itself. Let me speak to your viz. Ion again. Vision must be protected. Not everyone needs access to your dreams. Some people speak from fear, not wisdom. Some people project their limitations onto your calling. Guard your vision without becoming isolated. Seek counsel from those who demonstrate fruit, discipline, and humility. God often confirms direction through peace, not pressure. When something is right, there is a deep inner assurance, even if challenges exist. When something is wrong, there is restlessness, no matter how attractive it looks. Learn to trust that inner signal. It is a gift. You are not meant to live exhausted, anxious, and confused. That is not the life God designed. God's guidance brings clarity. His discipline brings stability. His truth brings freedom. Freedom is not the absence of responsibility. T is the ability to choose rightly. Discipline creates freedom. Structure creates freedom. When you master yourself, circumstances lose their power over you. Some of you need to simplify. Complexity is draining you. Too many commitments, too many distractions, too many voices. Simplify your focus. Clarify your priorities. When you remove what is unnecessary, what is essential becomes powerful. G often removes before he multiplies. He prunes before he produces. If something has been taken from you, do not assume loss. Ask what is being prepared. Ask what is being refined. Ask what needs to change within you. You are stronger than you think, but strength is revealed through perseverance. Do not quit in the middle of refinement. Do not abandon the process because it is uncomfortable. Grow. ETH stretches you before it blesses you. Let me speak to your future with conviction. Your future is not fragile. It is not hanging by a thread. It is held by God. But you must cooperate with that future through daily obedience. Destiny is not discovered in one moment. It is built through consistent choices. Every day you wake up, you are casting a vote for the kind of life you will live. Your habits vote, your words vote, your decisions vote. And over time, the votes accumulate into reality. Choose faith daily, choose discipline daily, choose gratitude daily. Gratitude shifts focus from lack to sufficiency. When you thank God for what you have, you position yourself to receive more. Do not underestimate the power of gratitude. Gratitude sharpens awareness. Awareness reveals opportunity. Opportunity rewards preparation. Preparation is invisible to most people, but God sees it. When you prepare in private, God promotes in public. When you refine your skills quietly, God amplifies your impact openly. You are not invisible to God. Every effort matters. Every sacrifice counts. Nothing done with sincerity is wasted. Stay alert. Stay grounded. Stay obedient. There is more unfolding than you realize, and the season you are entering requires clarity, courage, and unwavering trust in God. There is a moment in every life when God calls a person to rise above explanation and step into conviction. This is that moment for you. Conviction is different from emotion. Emotion fades when pressure comes, but conviction stands when evidence is absent. Conviction is what allows you to move forward, even when nothing around you confirms that you are right. God responds to conviction because conviction reflects trust, and trust is the foundation of every meaningful relationship with God. Many people want reassurance before obedience, but God often gives reassurance after obedience. This is where many miss their breakthrough. They wait for certainty before acting, but faith is acting in alignment with God's principles, even when certainty is incomplete. When you move with integrity, discipline, and humility, God meets you in motion. Stagnation does not attract direction. Movement does. Let me speak clearly. God does not bless confusion disguised as faith. God does not honor impulsiveness disguised as courage. There is a difference between faith and recklessness. Faith listens. Faith observes. Faith plans. Faith is patient but not passive. When God leads, there is clarity even if there is risk. When God directs, there is order even if there is challenge. Some of you are stuck because you are trying to control outcomes instead of stewarding processes. Outcomes belong to God. Processes belong to you. When you obsess over results, anxiety grows. But when you commit to Dale, obedience, peace returns. Focus on what you can control, your discipline, your consistency, your honesty, your effort. God takes responsibility for what you cannot control. There is a sacred power in consistency. Consistency may look ordinary, but it produces extraordinary results over time. God works through patterns. Seasons change, but principles remain. Those who honor principles eventually experience progress, even if the progress is slow at first. Do not despise slow growth. Slow growth is stable growth. You must also understand the power of patience. Patience is not weakness. Patience is strength under control. Patience allows wisdom to mature and character to deepen. Impatience rushes decisions and creates regret. God's timing is not delayed, it is precise. When the time is right, what God releases fits perfectly. Some of you have tried to force doors open, only to walk into chaos. Forced doors demand constant effort to keep them open. But when God opens a door, no amount of resistance can shut it. Learn to discern the difference. If something requires you to compromise your integrity to sustain it, it is not from God. God never requires compromise to maintain blessing. Integrity is not optional. Integrity is protection. Integrity keeps your mind clear and your spirit strong. When integrity is present, confidence grows. When integrity is absent, fear follows. You cannot build lasting success on hidden dishonesty. What is hidden eventually surfaces. God sees what others do not see, and God honors what is done in truth. Let me speak to those who feel overlooked. B. Being overlooked by people does not mean you are overlooked by God. Sometimes obscurity is preparation. God develops depth before visibility. When depth is lacking, visibility becomes dangerous. Depth sustains influence. Depth anchors success. Do not chase attention, chase excellence. Attention is fleeting, but excellence creates value. When you focus on excellence, recognition follows naturally. God promotes those who are faithful with excellence, not those who demand recognition. There is also a call to maturity in this season. Maturity is responding wisely instead of reacting emotionally. Maturity is choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. Maturity is letting go of what no longer serves your purpose. God is drawing you into a higher level of responsibility and higher responsibility requires emotional discipline. Emotional discipline does not mean suppressing feelings. It means governing them. Feelings are signals, not leaders. When feelings lead, chaos follows. When wisdom leads, stability is established. God's wisdom brings balance, not extremes. Some of you have allowed disappointment to harden your heart. Disappointment is real, but bitterness is optional. Bitterness blinds discernment and poisons perspective. Release bitterness not for others, but for your own freedom. God cannot fill a heart that is closed by resentment. Forgiveness is not approval of wrong, it is refusal to be controlled by it. When you release offense, you reclaim authority over your inner world. And authority in the inner world leads to effectiveness in the outer world. Let me speak to your inner dialogue. What you say to yourself when no one is listening matters deeply. That inner voice shapes belief, and belief shapes behavior. Replace criticism with truth. Replace fear with intention. Speak to yourself with wisdom, not condemnation. God speaks with correction, but never with humiliation. You are allowed to learn. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to evolve. Do not punish yourself for not knowing what you know now. Growth requires grace. Extend grace to yourself as you move forward with accountability. God is not asking you to be perfect. God is asking you to be sincere. Sincerity invites guidance. Sincerity attracts grace. When your heart is honest, direction becomes clearer. There is a momentum building when you align with truth. Small changes compound. Small disciplines accumulate. What feels insignificant today becomes powerful over time. Do not underestimate the impact of daily obedience. Some of you need to realign your priorities. Not everything deserves your attention. Energy is limited. Focus is valuable. Invest both wisely. When you give your best energy to distractions, your purpose suffers. When you give your best energy to what matters, progress accelerates. God honors focus. Scattered attention weakens effectiveness. A focused life is a powerful life. Decide what matters most and protect it fiercely. You are entering a season where clarity will separate those who advance from those who remain stagnant. Clarity comes from stillness, reflection, and prayerful consideration. Make space to listen. Silence distractions. Let wisdom surface. Do not rush this process. Transformation is unfolding. What you are becoming is more important than what you are gaining. When you become stronger, wiser, and more disciplined, what you gain will last. God is shaping you for sustainability, not just success. Temporary success without inner stability leads to collapse. But success built on wisdom, humility, and faith endures. Stop. I present. Stay committed. Stay aligned. There is a depth unfolding in you that will support the future God has prepared. And as you continue forward with trust, discipline, and unwavering focus on God, your life will reflect the strength of that alignment. There is a refinement happening in the unseen places of your life, and it requires attentiveness. God often works quietly before He works visible. While you are waiting for dramatic change, God is adjusting your sensitivity, sharpening your perception, and strengthening your resolve. The unseen work is never wasted. What is formed in secrecy becomes stability in exposure. If you rush the unveiling, you weaken the foundation. Let the hidden work complete its assignment. You must also recognize the power of restraint. Not every impulse deserves action. Not every thought deserves expression. Wisdom is knowing when to move and when to remain still. God's guidance often comes with timing, and timing requires restraint. Those who act too quickly often undo what patience would have secured. Restraint is not hesitation, it is mastery. When you govern your impulses, you demonstrate readiness for greater responsibility. There are voices you must learn to silence, not because they are loud, but because they are misaligned. Fear can sound logical. Doubt can sound reasonable. Negativity can disguise itself as realism. But realism without faith becomes limitation. God calls you to see beyond what is visible without denying what is real. That balance is spiritual maturity. Maturity also requires endurance. Endurance is the ability to remain faithful when results are delayed. Anyone can be disciplined when progress is obvious. Endurance reveals who you are when progress is hidden. God values endurance because endurance produces depth. Depth creates resilience. Resilience sustains momentum when enthusiasm fades. Some of you are being trained to outlast difficulty. No, escape it. Difficulty is a teacher when you remain teachable. Pressure clarifies priorities. Scarcity reveals values. Resistance strengthens resolve. Do not curse the resistance, use it. Resistance builds the strength required for expansion. Let me speak to the idea of expansion. Expansion begins internally. When your thinking expands, your capacity expands. When your capacity expands, your steed. Wardship improves. When stewardship improves, trust increases. And when trust increases, God entrusts more. This is a progression, not an event. God does not overwhelm you with increase. He layers it. Layer upon layer, responsibility grows as character grows. If you skip layers, instability follows. Honor the layering. Respect the process. You are being prepared for weight, not just opportunity. You must also become comfortable with responsibility without applause. Applause is inconsistent. Responsibility is constant. Those who depend on applause lose direction when silence comes. But those who are anchored in purpose remain steady regardless of recognition. God sees what others overlook, and God rewards what others ignore. There is also a call to courage in this hour. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite fear. Fear will always attempt to negotiate your obedience. Fear will ask you to delay, to minimize, to compromise. Courage responds with action grounded in wisdom and trust in God. You are not required to be fearless. You are required to be faithful. Faithfulness keeps moving even when fear is present. Faithfulness keeps choosing truth, even when comfort is tempting. Faithfulness keeps building even when results are unseen. God is drawing a line between intention and execution. Good intentions without execution produce frustration. Execution without alignment produces exhaustion. But execution aligned with God's direction produces fulfillment. Fulfillment is deeper than happiness. Fulfillment is knowing you are where you are made and to be, doing what you are meant to do. Some of you need to reclaim your authority over your schedule. When your schedule controls you, your purpose suffers. Time must be governed intentionally. God values stewardship of time because time reveals priorities. What you repeatedly give time to shapes who you become. Do not underestimate small disciplines practiced consistently. A single choice repeated daily reshapes destiny. Great change is rarely dramatic at first. It is quiet, steady, and cumulative. God works through accumulation. Faithfulness accumulates. Wisdom accumulates. Strength accumulates. Let me speak to your confidence. Confidence rooted in ego is fragile. Confidence rooted in God is steady. Ego seeks validation. God-centered confidence seeks alignment. When your confidence is rooted in alignment, you are not shaken by comparison, criticism, or delay. Comparison distracts you from your assignment. Your path requires your focus. Looking sideways causes missteps. God did not call you to replicate another person's journey. God called you to walk yours with integrity and courage. When you honor your path, you honor the one who designed it. There is also a warning here. Comfort can be more dangerous than struggle. Comfort dulls urgency. Comfort weakens discipline. Comfort invites complacency. God may allow discomfort not to harm you, but to keep you alert. Alertness preserves purpose. You are being invited into a deeper level of awareness. Awareness of patterns, awareness of motives, awareness of alignment. When awareness increases, choice becomes intentional. Intentional choice leads to transformation. Transformation does not require force. It requires surrender. Surrender is not giving up, it is giving over. When you surrender control, you receive clarity. When you surrender pride, you receive wisdom. When you surrender fear, you receive peace. God's peace is not the absence of challenge, it is stability within challenge. Peace anchors decision-making. Peace protects clarity. When peace is absent, pause. Rushed decisions made without peace often require repair. Let your life be guided by conviction, not convenience. Convenience fades, conviction sustains. When you choose conviction, you may face resistance, but you gain strength. Strength compounds over time. You are not merely surviving, you are being shaped. You are not merely enduring, while you are being equipped. Every moment of discipline, every choice of integrity, every act of obedience is contributing to a future that is stronger, clearer, and more aligned than you can currently see. Stay attentive to the subtle shifts. Honor the quiet instructions. Respond to the inner prompting with humility and courage. God is working with precision, and your willingness to cooperate determine how fully you step into what is being prepared, how deeply you embody the growth unfolding, how firmly you stand as the alignment continues to take form within you as each day unfolds. There is a sharpening taking place in your discernment, and you must not ignore it. God sharpens before He enlarges. When clarity increases, tolerance for confusion decreases. You begin to sense when something is misaligned, even if it looks good on the surface. This sensitivity is not weakness, it is maturity. God trains those He trusts to recognize what drains their strength and what fuels their purpose. Pay attention to what consistently leaves you depleted. Depletion is often a signal that something is out of alignment. You were not created to live constantly drained, constantly anxious, constantly chasing relief. God designed you for rhythm, not chaos. When your life lacks rhythm, everything feels urgent and nothing feels meaningful. Rhythm restores perspective. Rhythm allows you to work with intensity and rest with peace. God works in rhythms, and when you align with them, your effectiveness multiplies without burning you out. There's also a call to courageously confront self-deception. See, self-deception is subtle. It tells you that delay is wisdom when it is actually fear. It tells you that comfort is contentment when it is actually stagnation. God exposes self-deception not to shame you, but to free you. Freedom begins with truth, and truth often challenges what you have grown used to defending. Some of you have outgrown environments, but stayed because they feel familiar. Familiarity. Thank you can become a prison when it replaces obedience. God does not always remove you. Suddenly, sometimes He waits for you to recognize that it is time to move forward. Growth requires transition. Transition feels uncertain, but stagnation guarantees limitation. You must also understand the difference between pressure and urgency. Pressure comes from fear. Urgency comes from purpose. Pressure rushes you into mistakes. Urgency focuses you into action. When God calls you forward, there is urgency without panic. There is focus without confusion. Learn to recognize that distinction because it will protect you from unnecessary regret. God is also teaching you how to carry weight without complaining. Complaining weakens endurance. Gratitude strengthens it. When you complain, you magnify the burden. When you give thanks, you activate perspective. Perspective does not deny difficulty, it places it in context. God is larger than the weight you carry, and remembering that restores strength. There are responsibilities coming that require emotional stability. Emotional instability makes success fragile. God is stabilizing you so that when opportunity arrives, it does not overwhelm you. Stably. Thank you is built through self-awareness, discipline, and humility. When you can manage your reactions, you increase your capacity to lead, to steward, and to influence. You are also being trained to respond instead of react. Reaction is automatic and emotional. Response is intentional and wise. Reaction gives power to circumstances. Response exercises authority over them. God empowers those who choose. Response over reaction, because response reflects trust in His governance. Let me speak to your words again. Words are not decoration, they are direction. They steer thought, and thought steers behavior. When you speak carelessly, you weaken your resolve. When you speak intentionally, you strengthen alignment. Speak with purpose, speak with restraint, speak with faith. Your words should reinforce where you are going, not anchor you to where you have been. God is calling you to stop rehearsing past disappointments. Rehearsal keeps wounds open. Reflection heals them. Reflect to learn, then move forward. God does not want you imprisoned by memory. He wants you guided by wisdom. Memory without wisdom becomes regret. Memory with wisdom becomes instruction. There's also an invitation to deep and trust. Trust is built through repeated surrender. Each time you choose obedience over control, trust strengthens. Control creates anxiety because it places responsibility on you that was never meant to be yours. Trust releases that weight back to God, where it belongs. Some of you are exhausted because you are carrying outcomes instead of assignments. God never asked you to carry outcomes. Outcomes are His responsibility. Your responsibility is faithfulness. When you return outcomes to God, peace returns to you. Peace restores clarity. Clarity restores effectiveness. You are being taught how to wait without becoming idle. Waiting does not mean doing nothing. It means doing the right things consistently. Waiting with discipline positions you for readiness. Waiting without discipline breeds frustration. God honors those who wait actively, not passively. There is also a refining of motives happening. Motives determine sustainability. When motives are rooted in ego, success becomes unstable. When motives are rooted in service, success becomes meaningful. Go. Examines motives before he expands influence. Pure motives invite lasting impact. You must guard against distraction disguised as opportunity. Not everything that excites you is assigned to you. Excitement fades, assignment endures. When something is truly aligned, it produces peace alongside challenge. That combination is a signal worth honoring. God is also building patience in you, not to slow you down, but to keep you precise. Precision matters. Impatience blurs judgment. Precision sharpens results. When you learn to wait for the right moment, your actions carry greater power. Let me speak to resilience. Resilience is not toughness alone, it is adaptability with integrity. It is the ability to adjust without compromising values. God strengthens resilience so you can navigate change. Without losing yourself. Change is inevitable. Integrity must remain constant. You are learning how to stand firm without becoming rigid. Rigidity resists growth. Flexibility, guided by principle, allows expansion. God wants you rooted but responsive, grounded but growing. There is also a deepening of humility taking place. Humility keeps you teachable. Teachability keeps you advancing. The moment you believe you have arrived, growth stops. God leads those who remain curious, reflective, and willing to adjust. You are not being prepared for a moment. You are being prepared for a lifetime. That is why the process feels thorough. God is not rushing what must endure. He is shaping you to last. Stay alert to the internal shifts. Honor the quiet corrections. Respond to conviction. Know why without delay. The more promptly you respond, the clearer guidance becomes. God speaks with consistency, and clarity increases with obedience. You are not wandering. You are being guided. You are not stalled. You are being strengthened. And as you continue to align your thoughts, words, and actions with God's wisdom, you will notice that what once felt heavy becomes manageable. What once felt distant, becomes tangible. And what once seemed impossible begins to feel inevitable as the alignment deepens and the path before you continues to unfold with steady purpose and unshakable direction. Now hear this with reverence and courage, because this is where the decision is made. Not tomorrow, not when conditions improve, not when you feel more confident. The decision is made here, in this moment of awareness. God is calling you to examine your life honestly, without excuses and without fear. Look at where you have settled for less than integrity. Look at where you have delayed obedience. Look at where you have allowed comfort to replace conviction. This is not condemnation, this is invitation. God invites you into clarity because clarity is the doorway to change. Let this be the moment you stop drifting and start deciding. Decide what kind of person you will be when no one is watching. Decide what values will govern your choices when pressure rises. Decide what voice you will obey when fear speaks loudly. A life led without decision will always be led by circumstances. But a life anchored in God's wisdom stands firm even when everything around it shakes. Do not underestimate the power of a sincere turning of the heart. When you turn toward God with humility and resolve, direction becomes clearer. Strength becomes available. Peace settles where anxiety once ruled. This is not about perfection, this is about alignment. Alignment restores momentum. Alignment restores confidence. Alignment restores purpose. You are not called to live fragmented, Divi, dead between belief and behavior. God calls you into wholeness. Let your inner convictions and outer actions agree. Let your private discipline support your public goals. Let your daily choices reflect eternal values. When your life becomes unified, power flows freely. Rise with intention, walk with awareness, speak with wisdom, act with courage. Let your faith be visible, not through noise, but rough consistency. Let your trust in God be demonstrated not by words alone, but by disciplined obedience and unwavering integrity. If you have wandered, return. If you have delayed, move. If you have doubted, refocus. God is near to those who seek sincerely. God strengthens those who choose truth over comfort. God guides those who walk humbly and act faithfully. Stand now with renewed purpose. Carry yourself with quiet confidence. Live as one who knows they are guided, sustained, and called. Let this moment mark a shift in how you think, how you choose, how you live, and as you walk forward with clarity, courage, and trust in God, let your life become a testimony of alignment, strength, and enduring purpose that cannot be shaken.